Hello, everybody. Um, so I I recorded this last night, but the audio was kind of weird. Oh, I think I okay. So before I start, I should start with the preface that this server has like a voting system, and if you vote 25 times in a month, you get your own player skull. And I'm very bad about voting. And I finally committed and finally got my own player head. So that's what I just got. I've never done it before. I've been on this server for years by this point, but I just got that. The very first one. So that's something. Alright, so I got that squared away here. So anyway, like I was saying, um, at the I made I made this episode yesterday, but the audio was weird and I'm not very good with the software yet, so I just decided to remake it, and maybe I'd be able to do some better descriptions anyway. But that's what's going on here. So I guess to recap the last episode. So in the last episode, well, first I said that I was going to do voiceover. So here's the voiceover, and I kind of went over like the old city, which is this little square here, and I built this back in high school. All this, but it was kind of my first little urban space that I made, and I got a lot of good memories here. And this was also actually originally just a regular village. A lot of these roads kind of follow the original paths that the village went on. And the execution area, that's actually the original paving that was part of the village. And you can see that over here. And, they got the mossy cobble and all that. But there's really not too much that still remains of the old village. We used to have a villager breeder about where this tree is, but that was kind of cruel. And that's where the name Alabamaville came from. Kind of the incestuous origins of the city. I'm sorry if anybody's watching from Alabama. I mean, the state that I live in isn't necessarily a good state for that either. But anyway, I'll move on to the new things. So over here is the new city. This Mario over here, this is built by my friend Octo1, and he also built this flying boat thing. But I had to leave this here just because, well, it's his. This was built by, I don't know really how to pronounce his name, V-Pit Tree. Everyone just calls him V-Pit because it's just kind of a pain to spell. But V-Pit built this thing here. It's kind of spreading. I need to like cut it back or something. That's Skulk. It's like ivy almost, like spreading ivy. So this was kind of the earliest part of the new city, and you can tell that this is the new city because they all have these copper roofs. All the buildings do, and they're all kind of connected in a way that the old city isn't as well. But the very first building that I built here was this Wendy's, or I don't know if I built the Wendy's. I think one of my friends might have built the first floor of the Wendy's, and then I finished off the the rest of it. And this is a shop from one of the other player towns, V9der, I don't know, vendor. It's easier to say, but they got ads everywhere. Of course, I didn't decorate. Grace likes to decorate, but I don't. I don't do any of that. But yeah, it's pretty nice in here. You get a good view of everything that's happening around. Of course, this is the museum right here. This is probably one of the crown jewels of the city. I'm gonna save most of the museum for its own video, but you can see it right here, and I can get into all the explanations and all that. But I'll just save that for its own thing, just because there's a lot of stuff in there. This was another little experiment that I did. This building here. Really, I think it would have been better off just standing on its own, but here it is connected to all the others, so you can kind of see. It's kind of a social building, I guess. It kind of, it's got balconies here. You can wave at your neighbors. Up here, it does connect to this little series of, I guess, townhouses, you could call them, or apartments, or whatever these buildings are. But you can see they're all kind of part of the same thing. But what I like about these is that they kind of shift in and out, because both sides of the building are good for balconies. On this side, you have the pool area, have little pool parties with your neighbors or whatever, and on the other side, of course, you have the street and these gardens over here. And these gardens, these were built by one of my friends, the same one who did the chandelier for the town hall. But their name is Ryer or Rier or something like that. They're French, so I don't really know how to pronounce it. But yeah, they built these, and I don't know. I think something that's kind of great about this is just that having people add things to your city instead of just being yourself. I guess it kind of lets them do things that you wouldn't do yourself. Because I wouldn't have thought to do a nice garden like this. I was just going to put a bunch of trees here, but I think they did a really great job, and I built them a house here because they asked for one. And I'll probably do a tour of some other bases around the server, because I don't know, I feel like me just building that big project all the time will get kind of boring. So anyway, we'll probably go to Ryer's base at some point, but this is the house I built for them, and this is kind of an experiment I was doing with like the new copper blocks that they've added. So you can see you got these grates here instead of windows, except on the top floor, just to, I don't know, kind of create a little bit of privacy, but it still lets you see outside. And a big thing at Ryer's base is that everything is symmetrical, and there's a focal point to everything. Like I said, they're French, so if you know how they do things, you'd understand. But I kind of did this house as a little bit of a homage to that. So you can see you have this spiral staircase right in the middle, and yeah, it's kind of the focal point of this house. And, we can go up and around, and honestly, this is probably my favorite of the houses that I've done for my friends, and it's the newest. But you got a little light up here. I love these copper bulbs. I love all the copper blocks. I think they're great. But yeah, I got little nooks and crannies and hiding spots and bridges between the two parts of the house, and all sorts of things to find. And I forgot to. I need to add a window here. But you can see this bridge here is covered. But there is kind of this separation between the main part of the house and this part of the house. Maybe this is where the guests stay, or I don't know. Maybe this is where you go to have breakfast. I don't know. You got this little bridge over here, just to look over, little balconies. It's not really the most practical, but I mean, you're not going to use all these rooms anyway, especially not in Minecraft. I got these two little buildings here. I did a little bit of a color scheme with them. You know, you got the kind of light red with the bricks. You got the light blue with the terracotta. But they're friends. Those buildings are friends. This is kind of, I guess, the most utility focused building in this new area. I call it the bee place, and you can obviously see that it's inspired by bees. But I built this already 2 years ago. 2 years ago. It really doesn't feel that long, but this is where all the bees come out. And I had a friend of mine, Xenon. She built me a system that automatically harvests these honeycombs. So I use all the honeycombs to wax my copper roofs, which I got a lot of. So it was a big help. A big help. This here seems to be, I'd say, one of the most popular spots in the city. I forgot to mention that I sell these buildings for netherite to people, and of course I've only sold a couple, and it's both of these buildings. So I must have done something right with this little area for people to like it so much. But what this space kind of does is, of course, you have this central fountain here, but it actually acts as a focal point for this axis that goes along these trees here. So the idea is that you can either walk on the street here, or if you're feeling like exploring nature a little bit, you go in between these trees and have a nice little hike, and then it's on axis with this kind of in-between space between museum buildings as well. So it's kind of it does a few things. You can see, of course, this is kind of trying to encourage you to walk through here. But that's what that's doing. I might add more flowers or something. Maybe that would make it more inviting too. I don't know. But yeah, I always like seeing people come in and populate these buildings because, like I said earlier, I don't really decorate that much. So, I like to see people move in and customize the buildings if they want, or just add furniture, or once they buy it, it's theirs. I just make the base model, and after that, people can do with them as they please. But I don't know. I think those little personal touches are what really kind of give this area some life. And of course, this also kind of gets you a. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, you also get kind of a good view of the little neighborhood over here. Oh, and that's another house I built. I'll get to that in a minute. One of the first big, I guess, planned urban blocks that are in this city that I've done is this one here. So you can see that you've got buildings that are doing their own things. In this case, you've got kind of a lighter, more airy building on this side, and on this side you have a blocky, stony, heavy building. But there's kind of a duality between those two, and these columns here, it kind of creates like a meta facade for the entire block. But you can see you go through here, and I'm going to add some more, and this is like the decoration thing I was talking about earlier, but I think I'm going to add more greenery and maybe some market stalls or something in here just to give it a little bit more life, just because it's kind of boring and paved right now. But you can see this is just a little space created by all the buildings, and that's where all the neighbors come out and have a barbecue or something. I don't know. So I'll go in here because this does a few things. This little block does. So one thing that it does is you can see that these trees are up here. Now, I think I might also eventually add some ways out of the building onto these, because these are, there's trees up here. Someone's got to water them, or I don't know, something. People want to go up there, but you can go up here, and you can see these buildings are connected on this top level, and you've got a nice little park. You can overlook the city. This would be a good spot if there was ever a parade down here. Just watching it. But yeah, a little elevated park above the city. I think it does well. So that's one thing that it does. Another thing that this thing does is you can see there's a correlation between the property that this house is on and the front of this, and I made it to where the door to this house is right in line with the center of that column. So you got kind of I guess a bit of a framing effect by that. And of course these columns here, they're related to the columns on here. But I'm just trying to create cohesion between all these things. And there's also a cohesion on this axis as well. So of course you can see it cuts through the trees here, and you walk through here, and of course I've implied some very faint lines of by differentiating the materials that the pavement is made of, but it kind of leads you through here, and it actually continues into the facade of this building. So it gives this more importance as well too. So it's kind of a thing created by other things, and it kind of morphs the more you walk around it. It becomes different things, and those things are themselves as well. I guess that leads me. Well, I'll get to this street in a minute. I need to talk about some other things. I'll talk about this building here. So this is kind of the first skyscraper of the city. I use that term kind of loosely because it's not the tallest skyscraper, but especially not compared to the museum. But of course you can see that it's symmetrical on the diagonal because you're going to view it from right here. So it's just the best way to view it, instead of being symmetrical only on one face of the building or the other face, which it is symmetrical on. But you're not even really going to see this symmetry from the street here. So that's why it had to be on the diagonal as well. And it's also symmetrical on the back here. And you can see that it kind of forms its own corner tower just right there. And this is another space I need to develop a little bit more, this space between the buildings and the museum. I think I could do some interesting things here. Maybe with water, I don't know, but just since there's a slope here, that could be interesting, I think. I guess I'll talk about some facades. This here, I call this one the Art Deco facade, and you can see that I've used a different material for the windows just so I can emphasize like the form of the bricks instead of the window panes themselves. So in this case, you've kind of got this staggered sort of pattern going on with the windows, and that kind of emulates the brickwork. And of course you've got these verticals, and those are expressed through the hiding of those windows. And I did these windows in gray glass, and I think it almost looks like there's no windows there if you view it from a distance. So, and that was the point. That was the point with that one. I've got this one here too. This is kind of an experiment with black and white materials, but you can kind of see it almost kind of looks like candy canes or something on the side, on the corners here, and of course you got these spires to kind of create a little bit of a skyline, and that's kind of inspired by what's going on with that that skyscraper right there. Just I don't know. I feel like a bunch of pointy things tends to make a pretty decent skyline. At least that's what I've seen. So we got that. Uh, Now we'll move on to this little street here. Now this isn't the most grand street in the city, but I decided to kind of add in some like lights overhead and these trees here to kind of give the street a little bit of a smaller scale. This is a little bit more of a human type of walking space. And I recently took a trip to Texas, and there's this street in one of the cities there, and they had streetcars, and I noticed that like the lines overhead for the streetcars, they changed how it made you look at the street. It it made it seem a lot smaller, like you weren't really paying attention to the things that were overhead. And that's kind of what these street lights do, and the trees. It's just to kind of create a little bit more of a human scaled walking space. Just since this isn't like one of the grand boulevards or anything else, this is just people walk to work or whatever else here. But there is this this kind of capstone of the street, which was inspired by what I did with the Art Deco building, of course, with these verticals and the bricks and the dark glass. But now there's kind of almost kind of a velocity to it, like it's being pooled or something. And you can see I kind of divided the facade up into three parts, and you got this kind of these verticals here, and I don't know. I thought it was a nice little end to the street. I try and make every street or every axis in this city kind of have an end point, just because I think that contributes to the sense of place that they have. It's not a place that you're in constant motion, but there's a goal. There's a goal to the street, and this building is the goal of the street. I do wish, though, that I thought through the lobby stairs a little more, because it is a little bit awkward whenever you get up here. If I made this building bigger, I think I would have been able to do a little more. But there's kind of nice little rooms for I don't know, offices or apartments or whatever else on all these floors. And you go up here, and this is kind of the main room. This is where you have parties and stuff, and get a good view of that street right there, and get a good view of the project over here. And I don't know, maybe I'll make some roof balconies or something. It would be kind of cool if you could walk out onto here. But yeah, that's what's going on with this building. Moving on, and I think once I finish my current building, I'm going to do quite a few more of these little urban interventions, just because it is kind of rough around the edges right now. Of course, you can see that. What's all this about? Well, this is going to become like some kind of awesome square at some point, but not anytime soon. But that's kind of the fun of having a long-term project, I guess. So I guess I should go over this street now. This is Canal Street. That's what I call it, and I think that you can see why I called it that. Of course, you got these trees here. I think whenever you add trees to a project, I don't know, it just makes it better. Trees tend to make people happy, so I added trees. And at the end of this street, this is the axis of the street, is almost kind of the gate to the city. So this here is what I call the lock house. And if you don't know what a lock is, in real life, these doors, they'll open up, and and boats will come in here, and then this part will fill up, and then it'll get on level with the canal, and it'll let the boats up, and it'll let the boats into the city, and people can get all the goods and fruits and vegetables and whatever else the boat has on it. And you know, it's a logistics thing, I guess, but it's also the gate to the city, or one of the gates. I'm sure I'll do more gates to the city, but that's kind of the importance of that. I was also kind of doing a little experiment with like how vaults meet. You can see. Here, let me sleep just so I can brighten things up a little bit. Ah, there we go. So you can see how they meet in here, and of course this is also kind of using that rule of thirds, the separation and into thirds, and got this central oculus here just to shine light down into here, and of course this kind of acts as an awning to protect the metal machinery that opens and closes the lock. So that's kind of my reasoning there. What else? What else? This building here, this is built by my friend Risky Property, and I'm glad he built it because I wasn't going to build anything there for a while, and it was just a bare spot because I'd already started my big catacomb project, and I don't really like to work on too many things at once or nothing gets finished. So this is what he added here, and I think it's really interesting. I like the little golds on the top. That's pretty glamorous, and yeah, it's kind of like a ziggurat form, sorta, but it's nice. I like it. I'm going to change this building. It's nice. I like it. I like some things that it does. I like these little things that come off of the sides, and I like the overall form, but I just think it's too symmetrical for that spot. It's on a corner, and you can see I like to do this kind of stuff with corners, so I think I'm going to add some kind of tower on here, maybe get rid of this central arch thing, and maybe I'll move it to the side or something. But it's too symmetrical to be in this specific spot, so I am going to change some things with it. But I like the building by itself. I do. So I guess now it's archived, so you all can look back on it. But you can see this chandelier is inspired by the one that my friend made. And, I do like this room quite a lot. I'm kind of doing a little experiment with the woods here, and I don't know, I think it's a nice little ballroom or whatever else. You could have parties here, meetups. Of course, this orange roof is meant to kind of fit in with all these other orange roofs while also letting the light in. So that's what that does. And I got these color coordinated chops on the bottom. I need to add windows to them. I forgot to do that. What else? What else? Okay. Oh, I forgot to talk about these over here. I'm not going to say too much about these, but they're good buildings. I like them, but I can't say too much of what they're doing. They're just kind of filler. Kind of. I was experimenting with colors, and I did kind of do this little elevated sort of entrance room thing, but of course I got this little balcony here. But I don't know, it's a building. It's got this thing up here. You can stand up here, and I guess that's a pretty nice spot. You can look out at the skyline, or over at the museum, or down into what will be a nice park. And this was well, an experiment. You can. It's a part of the city. I'll put it that way. Not my favorite, but it's there. And the same with this brick building. But I think this one's at least doing something. You can kind of see kind of going in and out and in and out with the windows. But that's kind of what's going on there. And then I've got this tower here, and this is kind of an expansion on what I was doing with this building. So you can see, got all these different checkerboard patterns. You've got, uh, 1, 2, 3, kind of a little bit of development with these windows here. It kind of accumulates at the top, and it's almost kind of like almost medieval, almost Art Deco, almost. I don't know. It's kind of just a little experiment with you know these different colors of blocks. I've also, this is another color experiment. These are just some nice little pastel townhomes. I don't got a bad thing to say about them. But I do wish they'd add more pastel colors to the game, because I was kind of going for a stretch a little bit with this uh, concrete powder. A nice, um, like a pastel green or teal or something would be really nice. I hope they add that in the future. Um, so I already kind of showed you this in the last episode. I might redo that one. I might voice it over. I don't know yet. I'll probably kind of learn the ropes a little bit, but um, I've got this over here. This is I call this stonemason square. Oh, okay. So, um, sorry, I had to. I did a little cut because I I just went and got some lunch. But like I was saying, um, so what this does, instead of having a corner, is it has nothing. And since the corner is the most prominent spot, this instead draws you in to Stonemason Square. And this is where all of my villagers live, and they cut all my stones, and these bricks were all, I got all these bricks from them, so they kind of built this. And I got a little gardens here for them, and got some good scenery, and got got little gardens around the outside here. So yeah, we'll home for my villagers. But you kind of see it's kind of a one thing created from some like separate buildings. So sometimes they're bridged together. Sometimes they're only connected by, we can call it structure. I don't really think it would do that much, but it definitely kind of creates a cohesion in the design. And we've also got these towers for each building, and they all kind of step up at equal intervals, with this tallest one having a lantern, which is created by these end rods, which kind of reinforces the verticality that I'm going for with the tower, just to kind of give it prominence on the skyline. And the whole thing is kind of built on a grid as well. You can see this 3x3 grid. It's kind of shared by all of these kind of brick columns. Go all through here. Of course, all the towers are kind of built on similar intervals. Each segment of the tower is 4 of these window segments in size. So got that. Got kind of a rhythm going on with how it's built. Of course, this also shares that, like I've been saying, that dark glass thing, just because I think that reinforces the verticality of what the structural material is doing. But that's what I got here. And that's stonemason square, and this is the kind of the space between, but I wanted to create something that's kind of cohesive in this space between, so you can see these uh, these structural bits are in line with these trees, and they're equal from trunk to, well, not this one, but from column to trunk to trunk. They're all equal width from the street, and that's also kind of why I added that onto there, just to kind of reinforce this kind of I guess cohesion. That's the best way I can put it. But you can see this also kind of uses this this lock house to create an axis, and of course it's also kind of punching this building in a little bit. So it's kind of one thing created by 4 or 5 different things. I guess another building, or another thing that this building does is, because this punches out here, it kind of punched in on these sides, and it creates a little bit of breathing room for this side of the house, just so you can look at it and appreciate it. So that's kind of what that one does there. I think that's pretty much all of the new city so far. Of course, I'm gonna cover the museum. I don't want to show too much of that off, just because there's some good things in there, I think. Yeah. I hope that I'll be able to do some better editing in the future. I'm still kind of learning the ropes with everything, but I think hopefully things will get better with each installment. So I hope you all enjoyed. Hope the voiceover turns out all right. I hope I don't have to re-record this again. I'm probably just gonna figure out how to finagle the sound settings. I really don't know what I'm doing. I need to figure it out. But yeah, make sure to mash the like and do the subscribe and the bell and whatever. Smash that like button, okay? Just yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. So bye-bye for now.